I kept putting my money into people, and there was nothing coming about. And I went to this event called the $1 Million Mingle, and it was this young lady selling cigars, young black woman. And I walked up to her and I said, I like cigars. So I bought some cigars for everybody. And the next day, the event was a 4-day event that I've been going to for years. And then the next day, I went out to the Polo Grounds, which is the polo event in Scottsdale every year. And I'm a big sponsor of that. So I went to the polo event, showed up, and there was a gentleman selling cigars. I said, well, that must be your business. He goes, no, that was my daughter. It's my daughter's business. And I said, really? And we started talking. I told him about this group I belonged to at the time. And he was saying what he did for a living. He goes, well, you interested in a television channel? I said, I don't know. Am I? And I thought it was going to be like $150,000, $200,000, $300,000, And I said, and I had some money in the bank. And I said, I was looking for my own business. And he goes, no, I got this grants I can do and everything like that. And he goes, what about 15 G's? I said, I don't know. I can own my town, so I bought it, literally. And so that's what happened. I started out with it, but I had to create my own I had to create my own content. And back then, people, I thought I was thinking like Vince McMahon and Ted Turner, where I had to create content. I was spending $25,000 to $50,000 on content, and then people were coming back with a 2-minute YouTube video and saying, "This is your content. I need more money." So it was really content's everything, and there was bad people out there. So it struggled for about a year, and then I struggled some more, and then finally, by God's will, like Anthony says, I happened to meet. I got introduced to Eric Zuley, and then I got introduced to Maureen, and then I connected Maureen and Eric, and there it was. One day I was on the phone with Eric and Zuley of his Easy Way Network, and he said, "Hey, Mark, God brought us together." And I'm a Jewish kid from New Jersey, so I hear that a lot. And he goes, but he was sincere about it. And then all of a sudden, like, I go, Maureen's calling. I hung up the phone. And I said, Maureen. She goes, Mark. The first thing she said was, God's. I tell this story all the time. God, brought our families together. And I said, wow, okay, wow. And I said, she goes, and a week before that, she said she didn't want to work with Eric. And I said, I got to tell you something. And she goes, what? And I go, can you tell me that one more time? And about a third time, she goes, what, Mark? You don't believe me? And I go, I believe you, but you're not going to believe what I have to tell you. And then I go, Eric just said the same thing. She goes, really? And I said, well, is it okay if I bring him in a call? And 3 hours later, on Mark TV was reborn. Literally, it was dead. And Maureen, resuscitated it, gave it CPR, and I ceased and desist my own channel, and now we reach 500 million people and more, and we're me and Anthony are ambassadors of hope and goodwill and doctors and all kinds of crazy stuff. So there it is. So Eric Zuley, Maureen Cooper, Anthony Sardelli, and Mark Baylor are now a four-headed, God-driven, I don't know, three-being giant. Yeah, so that's about it. And
I've talked to Eric.
But the one person that started it all, the one person that truly started it all, is the beacon of light, Mr. Kurt Roscoff, and he's the one that brought us all together. That's how I met Anthony. That's how I met all you guys. That's how I met Robert. That's how I met the Orange Cowboy. So Kurt Roscoff is the beacon of light that brings all of us together.
Kurt's how I met everybody too. Pretty much. That's how I talk. I've met Eric. I've never met the other person you're talking about.
Well, you've been on Zoom calls with us, and and October 9th, we're going to have October 9th. There's Larry should come to it. So it's called the Easy Way Pitch Party. It's free. I have it. I can send you an affiliate link, and you'll see what it's all about. It's the most amazing networking event you'll go to, because you get the chance to speak to millionaires and I was with a couple of billionaires, a couple of millionaires, a couple of doctors, a couple of this, a couple of that. Eric is when it comes to Los Angeles, Hollywood, and glamour, he's the man, and he's been doing it out 30 years out in LA, and he knows everybody and anybody, like literally. And so every time you're talking to him, he introduces you to somebody more famous. So I know a lot of TV stars, movie stars, rock stars, people that own motion pictures, people that own all kinds of stuff. So it's pretty fun.
Nice. Mr. Pender.
Yes, sir.
So how did you get started in? What is your zone of genius? What are you working on?
My zone of genius is as a nutrition champion, helping people with what they're eating, suggesting some nutritional supplements to make sure our body runs on better fuel. I'm learning over time. Hopefully the connection is good here. I am now, I hate to say this, but I've reached a milestone in my life, and I'm now 59 years old, or as I say, 30 with 29 years of experience. And when I was growing up, they had this big thing called a food pyramid. Who knows where it came from, but there's probably a few lobbyists involved in it.
Remember that?
What we found is that what we're eating is not always the healthiest things. And what I challenge a lot of people out there in the ability world and the disability world is track what you're eating, break it out a little bit, check if you're consuming too many sugars, too many carbs. I personally recommend more of a keto situation. I've done that myself, and I've actually lost about 28 pounds in the last 6 months,
Nice.
making some changes. And in addition to taking things out of your diet, then every once in a while you've got to make sure you add a few key supplements to make sure it's kind of like if you're going to drive a race car, and I believe all of us, we're given one body in this life, is you got to treat it with respect. Is in addition to what you're eating, a few nutritional supplementation can help out, make sure you're operating at high levels all the time. So that's where we're at, Michael, and I'm hoping that everyone takes that to heart and lives a good, healthy life and has some fun.
I'm curious as to how Mark and Anthony, what your collaboration looks like, and what your two networks will like. What you're working on, what you're doing together.
I mean, Anthony has the three magic words: nonprofit TV. So, like, I'm a guy who can connect everybody and everybody, and then so what happens is we put all the nonprofits on his channel for free. All right. So now, so we look like the great guys we are, and then we generate advertising revenue, and we generate. And then what I do is like a person like Larry, he has a product, he has something he sells. So what I do is I go to Larry and I say, Larry, I can be your supreme downline. Okay. Instead of trying to talk to 1, 5, or 10 people, what if you create a QR code and an ad? You drop a 1-minute ad on my television channel, drop a QR code in there. I get 10, you get 90, and we create business together. And I put them in front of a 500 million people. That's how it works. So we help the nonprofits, and then we also have Inspired Out World that chips in, and they help nonprofits raise money. So we're helping everybody raise money, and then when they raise money, they can spend a little money, which is $100 to get on TV and boost whatever they're doing too in their own personal businesses. Because most people that run nonprofits also have their own personal businesses.
Yeah.
So we help everyone, literally.
That's good. I've thought about making a nonprofit, but there seem to be too many hoops. That's why it's the only reason I didn't do it.
Well, we could help with that actually. If you need a little guidance, we've got some people that can, help you through that. I'm not sure what part you're talking about exactly, but there might be an easier way. Sometimes you hit a little roadblock and you talk to someone else that's done it, and give you a couple of tips, and you'll breeze right through. But if you structure it right and you go in right, it doesn't have to cost a tremendous amount, and you can get your status and you can go to work. But as far as how me and Mark work together, I'd say he kind of breathes life into what I'm doing, and he's making opportunities appear. Like, for example, I mentioned we're going to be in Arizona now, and that's 100% for Mark. I make a phone call, and he knows everybody, and 5 minutes later, how many do you want is the answer. So, when I built it here, I don't have that kind of dynamic personality, so I like to work, and I keep my head down, and I just built this thing in sort of a field of dreams model. I said I'm going to just keep building till someone notices. And if they don't, that's fine. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because we're doing okay the way, our model is progressing. But it took a long time to get here. And I said, if I want to really scale this, I don't have another, 7, 8 years to do this with. So, by partnering with someone like him, he just opens the door. So now if we want to scale, that just happens so much faster. So now we can affect whole communities, almost overnight. And I mean, that's how quickly it's going to happen. In a matter of weeks, we can have new locations up. The nonprofits in that area feel the benefit immediately. And that also gives us another platform that's attractive to advertisers and things and sponsors, hopefully. So, our audience has grown and grown and grown. And with, like Mark said, people like Eric Zuley and his network, we really do come together well. We complement each other in a lot of ways, I think. So those guys are the front guys. They're the ones that, are good on camera, and they sound great and say all the right things. And I'm just the nerd in the background that tries to, get everything done and keep things going. So I think I'm grateful for it. And, as far as how we found each other, it's pretty interesting. We were talking about Kurt. I actually talked to Kurt, I'd say earlier in the year, that we met, and it was fine. We had a conversation. We talked about a few things, but it kind of drifted off, and we hadn't spoken again for a while. But then we reconnected, and that's when everything. That's when I think Mark was actually on the line, and that's how we met. And he just kind of, you can tell from the way he talks. He brings a lot of excitement to anything. But Kurt said he found me. Said, he goes, I had this idea, and I just searched online for nonprofit TV, and there you were. You already had what I had in mind. And I said, well, let's talk. I mean, because Kurt's background and his character, he's the right kind of guy to have, on this kind of mission. So he's actually on our board now. So I'm proud to
Oh,
have
wow.
him on our board. Yeah, he's a great asset, and we can't have too many Kurt's in the world. So I'm really grateful to him for finding me and bringing us all together. But again, I don't think you'll find any of us that'll say God didn't have anything to do with it. I really, it sounds cliche, but it's true. It's true. You feel it sometimes when that's real, and I think we found something real here. So I'm looking forward to changing lives and affecting change all over the world. And we're starting in Texas, we're going to Arizona, and like Mark said, with the streaming, there's no limit. I mean, we're going to hopefully attract an audience from countries all over.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm grateful to have met and talked to Mark Kurt also. I've met many people through Kurt, and I'm grateful for him.
One day he's going to teach us how to water ski, right?
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, that is not happening.
I told him I'm going to buy you a GoPro because I'm going to put it on you. I want some footage of this stuff. I think people would like to see something like that, or at least I would. I don't know. So,
Oh, yeah,
but anyway.
I definitely like to watch
I'll,
that.
I'll drive the boat. I'll drive the boat.
There you go.
I'll watch from the dock.
Someone's got to be an audience. Always important.
There you go.
No, I'm curious as Mr. Pender, if you're afraid of, well, I'm not afraid, but if you want to avoid processed foods going forward, and everything is pretty much processed, if you go to the grocery store, I've found, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I would say one of the first things, that's a good question. Great question, actually. One of the first things I've done is when I order a hamburger at a restaurant, I say, leave the bun in the kitchen. And I eat the middle, protein style. That's one of the first simple things that people can do is take the bread out of what they're doing. I mean, and I'll be quite honest, I love sourdough and cornbread with butter melted on it, but I have not had any in many, many months. Actually, I had one half of an English muffin a week ago. That's it. It's more of a change over time. It's like sugar. If you stay away for about 3 to 4 weeks, your body will get rid of those receptors inside of you that looks forward to it. And it's part of it's just retraining ourselves. You have eat the higher protein. What I'm reading a lot about is there was a thing for many years of no fat. Now what we're finding is that when you have a ribeye steak, get the one with the fat. Of course, always encourage people to go with grass-fed organic products as best as you can. That's not always possible. And that's one of the realities is you do have to consume calories and eat. So if you have stuff around and you are very hungry, you got to eat what you have. You just slowly upgrade by taking some things out of the diet. There are some great soups. There are people that choose to go with the vegetarian side, and that is perfectly fine. If you do that, there are a couple of supplements that I believe, like the vitamin B's and some vitamin D's, that you should add in addition, just to make sure you have some there. But getting rid of anything with grains, which are flours, breads. On the pasta side, one of the things that you can do if you do absolutely want to have some pasta is find some of the stuff that's made in Italy or in Europe without the non-GMO. That is something that we're not sure exactly how it reacts in our system, but there's something about the GMO crops that just are not as good, which would lead me into drop the sodas. High fructose corn syrup is not good for our bodies. It really spikes our insulin levels and our blood sugar levels a lot. So just simple things, retrain ourselves to have some water or use lemon and water for flavor, find some flavor, whether it's raspberries, blueberries, cucumbers, put that in your water or bubbly water, and slowly retrain ourselves to do that. I can tell you one of the challenges we all face is when you go to a morning meeting and someone brings a bunch of cupcakes like they did this morning. And I finally learned to say, no, thank you. Yes, they look wonderful. Yeah. And the funny thing with cupcakes, if I would have learned the power of cupcakes when I was younger, I would have been married 10 years earlier. But I didn't learn that's where cupcakes work very well. They attract the young ladies. But in our lives, they just add stuff on to it. So hopefully I was clear on that, Michael, that we just have to just be aware of what you're eating. If people have allergies or something, one of the things that is just like with our budgets and money, track what you eat, and you'll find out if you eat something strange, like a certain spice, and you don't feel weird the next day, don't eat that spice the next time. So back to you, Michael.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it. You definitely answered my question. I'm curious. We're almost out of time, so I want to give everyone a chance to give a final message or a thought that they have. So I'm going to go to Anthony first.
Yeah, I love the show. I appreciate you having me on. And I'm with Nonprofit TV if anybody wants to look into it. And if you're a nonprofit, we're happy to help. So please get in touch.
And Mark.
Well, Michael, I mean, you should absolutely have your own show and do exactly what you're doing right now. Just interview people, talk to people, and then, let us make it part of the, what Anthony does and put you on nonprofit TV, and then find a way to like make you some money too to go with it, with like create revenue for you, create a QR code and have people like give to your causes and give to yourself and, help you go along life and be able to do what you want to do in life. So, I mean, that's why, it's absolutely what we should do for you. So, start creating some videos like you're doing right now. Work together with the people that do this. With suing them and then create the videos that you've been on lots of them. You're already on my channel. I've already have about 2 or 3 of the videos that you've done on my channel already. So it's you're already there. You're already a TV star.
Yeah. And I do have my own podcast, so
Exactly. So just take your podcast, send us the videos, and we'll put them on television.
I've been interviewing people since I'm 19 and I'm 47, so it's been a while.
You're calling it a
that's an open
podcast, but it's
invitation.
really a TV show. There's no podcast is something somebody came out during COVID, but they're all TV shows. They go on television unless they're just audio. Then they're just radio shows.
Yeah, if I did anything, it would be audio and visual because I don't like just radio shows. There's
Well, you're a
something
good-looking
that
man, Michael, and people want to see that handsome. People want to see that handsome face.
I do what I can. My wife thinks I'm cute. So that's all that matters.
Absolutely, sir. We want to do everything we can to help you.
Thank you. I
The
appreciate
entire
it.
cause.
So
It's a guy. I never thought my channel would have God's will, but half the world thinks I'm Jewish, half the world thinks I'm Muslim. So if I'm not God's will, what is?
I'm curious. Where are you, Mark?
Right now in Arizona.
Okay. Well, because
I live in Arizona.
I'm staring at the top of your
I'm
car.
taking my wife to Quran study.
Okay.
At a Muslim school.
I've only ever been to Arizona when I was playing basketball.
No, and then I have to go. Then I'm going to go over to a church. I'm going to take her to a Quran study. Then I'm going to a church to be an event that's featuring the guy who is Paul Mitchell, the guy who runs Paul Mitchell, the guy who started Paul Mitchell, is doing
Wow.
is speaking at a church in Queen Creek, Arizona. So after I drop my wife off, I've been invited to that event. So I got to head that way next.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
Great. Michael, how much more time do we have for the shows? Like 2 or 3 minutes?
2 minutes, yes.
2 minutes. Very good.
Yeah. So Sue should be coming along shortly, just to do the outro, I think. And if not, I can handle it. But
Excellent.
we'll see what happens.
well, she's doing Powerpuff something
She's what?
football, Powerpuff football.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, a lot of action going on. Michael, what I'll end up with from my side is remember, action creates action. Ladies and gentlemen out there, is don't judge yourself as you're going through changes. That's one of the things we have to learn how to do. Is if you're going to track your food,
absolutely
your
amazing.
health.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we actually are at the end here. Thank you so much, as always, from